present. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar. I am a computer science second year student and the promotions coordinator at GFG Student Chapter ABS EC. As we all know that productivity is not an accident, it is always the result of commitment to excellence, intelligent planning and focused effort. As the next step towards it, we are here with the second follow-up event of Elixir, a student-led technical community for students to showcase their technical ingenuity and adroitness. Under the umbrella of Elixir, we will organize a wide array of events to enlighten the practical innovations in the mind of budding engineers. So, without wasting any time, grab your seats for the first workshop of getting started with open source Git and GitHub. We have lined up a number of events for you in the session. Next, I'd like to introduce to you all with the presenters of the day. First, we have with us Mr. Manav Agarwal, a third year IT student and an active contributor from Django, and also the Geek of the Month by Geeks for Geeks for the month of August. We welcome you, sir. Second, we have Ms. Kushi Roniar ma'am, a third year IT student and a Microsoft Learn student ambassador who have conducted many workshops on open source. Just a quick sum up before we get started. This event will be conducted in three segments. In the first segment, Kushi ma'am will explain everything about the concept of open source, Git and GitHub version control. In the second part, we will have Manav sir for the practical hand-on. Thirdly, we'll have a Q&A session on Slido, and in the end of it, we'll let you know about the criteria you will have to complete for receiving the certifications from GFG Students Chapter ABS EC and MLSA. Now, without any further ado, we will turn the time over to Khushi ma'am. Also, we will provide you with the link of Slido in the chat box for your queries. Khushi ma'am.
Thank you, Kalash. So, hey everyone, I am Khushi, a BTech third year student from ABES Engineering College. So, let's get started with what is open source software. It is a software which has its source code publicly available to access or modify. A programmer can add features or fix bugs in any open source project, and if the feature seems good, then it gets merged to the software. Some softwares like Windows don't have their source code publicly available. And also, it is very easy to get started with open source. All you need to do in order to start your journey is to get your hands on with version control system and the technology or programming language. Now, moving on. So, you must be wondering what is exactly version control system. Version control system is basically a concept of maintaining the different versions of a system or a project. Let's take an example of a project. In a project, we have different revisions or versions in it. And the very concept of maintaining this is called version control system. This system records the changes in the files and folders of a project or repository and gives us the copy of project at any particular instance of time or situation. Let's understand version control system with an example. Let's take an example of a project you created a few months ago. Now you changed some files of a project, and as these files were linked to other files of the same project, due to which the whole project came to a situation of deadlock or ambiguity. Now you want to get back the copy of your original project, and as you don't have any backup, you won't be able to retrieve that. So to avoid such situations, we use version control system as it keeps the track of all the changes we made in a project and helps us to get back to any version of a system or project. Now moving forward, version control system is of three types: local, centralized and distributed version control system. First one is local version control system. So basically, it is an approach in which the user keeps the local copy of the project on his respective system and changes it whenever necessary. by copying the folder of the project and renaming it to version 1 or version 2, etc. The second one is centralized version control system. In this one, centralized version control systems are based on the idea that there is a single central copy of your project uploaded somewhere, probably on a server, and a programmers will commit their changes on this central copy. Committing a change simply means recording the change in the central system. The programmers download only that file in which the changes are to be made, and then it is committed to the central copy. A third type of version control system was introduced, which is distributed version control system. A distributed version control system is a type of version control system where the complete code base, including its full version history, is mirrored on every developer's computer. In this, it has a centralized server, or it could be a cloud based as well, in which we clone the entire repository in our local system. And we have changes in the files in our local system itself, and then we push or pull the code or the changes made in the central server or the main repository. One of the most popular examples of distributed version control system is Git version control system. So basically this is all about the version control system and its types. There is one interesting fact I would like to share you, that the founder of Linux, Linus Torvalds, is the creator of Git distributed version control system as well. So moving forward, Git and GitHub. Many of you must be thinking that Git and GitHub is same, but the fact is that they are not same. There is a vast difference between the two of them. Let me explain you all the difference, and after this you will all have a clear picture of the difference between them. The first one is Git is a distributed version control system tool which manages the programmer source code history in the form of versions or releases. And GitHub is a cloud based tool which is officially of Microsoft, and it works around Git tool, but it has different functionality integrated in it as well. The second one is Git does not provide any user management, that is login logout feature, whereas the GitHub has a built-in user management login logout feature in it. Basically, we can say that GitHub is a platform to host Git repositories. Now comes the other important part, which is why we should use Git and GitHub. So basically, there are a lot of reasons and benefits of using GitHub. Like, let me explain you all with an example. First one is, suppose I have a shopping website and in that I have to add three features. For adding these three features, I hired three different people and I gave all of them different tasks for the same. For example, I asked one person to work on the product display, second one to work on the user management, and so on. And all of the three people gave me the functionality code once they made it. So at last, the problem arises at the time of merging the code, which is all of the three people have declared same variables in the same file itself for the different functionalities and tasks. This caused the problem of merging the code, and to overcome this problem, this is the point when Git comes into picture and solves the problem by creating a cloud-based repository where if someone pushes some changes in a file and the other person pushes same changes in the same file and same line, then it will generate a conflict situation and will ask the person to the required changes and then add them to the project. Secondly, also suppose all the three of the people gave me their changes and
Interface, we may use commands and to do whatever we want to using Git. And graphical user desktop interface, we could do those things using mouse clicks and some keyboard interactions. While GitHub has three interfaces: the web interface, the command line interface, and the graphical user desktop interface, the same as Git. So basically it is more interactive, and this they have same features. For the purpose of this workshop, we will use Git command line interface and GitHub web interface. So basically, in order to get the command line interface of Git, what you have to do is you have to go to Google, you have to type download Git. The first link you will get, you have to download the software from there, which for whichever operating system you are using. So I have already downloaded it and installed it. It's nothing, just basically simple next. You have to click on next, and it would be installed. There's no settings. You may use the default settings for everything you want. So that's it about Git CUI. We will share all these links at the end of the workshop, in the chat section, and even on our Instagram page. You may get it from there. So all the links we'll use in the workshop would be shared to you. So basically, this is Git command line interface. This is the place where you can download Git command line interface. Okay, so next is GitHub web interface. So this is basically the GitHub web interface. All you have to do is to open any browser and type in the URL section github.com. This is the user interface of basically web user interface of GitHub. So we will use this along with the command line interface. So I'm just coming to the command line interface. So basically, to use the Git command line interface, we have two options. We may either use a command called git bash, a tool, git bash, or we may use a tool called command prompt that comes pre-packed with Windows. So for the purpose of this workshop, I'll use command prompt. They both have same commands. Any command I'll run on git bash, the same command I can run on command prompt. So I'll use command prompt because I'm used to of it. So okay, now before using Git command line interface, we have to do some settings like to do some changes on Git repositories or something. I have to tell GitHub that my username is this, my email is this. So in spite of typing that email and username again and again while working on Git, what I do is I set that as a variable throughout this whole GitHub session, and every time I clone any repository or I work with GitHub, I want that username and that email to be used. I think that's clear. So in order to do that, we need to run two commands which I mentioned in the PPT itself. Okay, So the first one is git config dash global user dot name, then your basically username. My username is manav014. I'll use it. So this is basically used to tell GitHub that anytime I make changes to any repository or I do anything stuff related to GitHub, I want my username to be manav014. So now it is set. The same I'll have to tell GitHub about my email address so that I don't have to type it again and again. So I'll config that as git config dash global user dot email space your email address for which from which you are registered on GitHub. TTSMAN1016. This is my email I have registered with on GitHub. So that's it about the setting up of Git command line interface. And to set up the Git web interface, all you have to do is to register yourself over there. You have to create an account and you would be redirected to such a page, such a dashboard page basically. So where you can do whatever you want to. So that's it about web interface and command line interface. In the command line interface, we all just told GitHub that we are going to use this email and this username throughout the session whenever we will do any GitHub related work. Okay, so that's why we set the things up. Moving further, like now GitHub is basically, as Kushi told, like GitHub is used to host the repositories. Basically, a repository is a place to organize a single project in the form of files and folders. Like it could contain any file or folder which your project needs. That's what a repository is. It is basically a project folder kind of a thing, but it can contain all the files that a project needs, from images to anything. Okay, so basically repository, in case of repository, we make three files, three kind of copies of a repository basically. A repository is just a project basic. Okay, so the first one is major project repository, main project repository, sorry. The main project which like we would be like which would be remotely available for anyone to access. For the owners, it would be created by the owner. So in order to do that, you have to click on the plus icon on the top right corner of GitHub, and there is an option of new repository. You have to click on that to create a new, to upload. Basically this is used to we are creating an area to upload our project on GitHub or to even create one. So you have to enter repository name. For the purpose of this workshop, I am using elixir_workshop. It will ask for the description of the repository. Let's say for now this is a test repository. Wait a second, next thing I'll have to just create it from another account, because this account I'll use to demonstrate the forking this repository. So let's create GitHub repository from my another account. Yeah, elixir_workshop. This is a demo repository. So there are two options here, public and private. What does they mean? When you make a repository public, it is publicly available to anyone who just visits it with the URL you provide for the repository. And private means you give rights to a limited kind of people, and they only have the access to access the files and folders of the repository or the project. So I'll make it public. And second thing, the second option is add a readme file. Basically, whenever suppose someone gave you, let's consider an example. Someone gave you a project which is written in Python language, and you don't have any idea of how to run it. So it would be very hectic to you for search for things like how can I run it, how can I use the project, what are the commands I can use in order to run the project. So to do so, we have a readme file. What exactly readme file does is, readme file is basically displayed whenever you open a repository in the URL, or it is present in all in generally in the folder of the project, basically, which you could open to learn more about the project, how to run it, how can you set up the project, how can you run the project, what are the commands that we can use the project, and even they have the documentation links for the project. So it is a good practice to use readme file in a project. So I'll create one. Okay, so the next option is .gitignore. Basically, there are some kind of files which are created by your IDEs, the IDE which you use to code for your project, and they have some temporary files generated, and you don't want them to be uploaded on GitHub anytime you add that project to the GitHub. So what you have to do is you'll have to add those files to .gitignore, and anytime those files come with they won't be added to GitHub, uploaded to the GitHub project. Okay, so I'm not doing it for now because my project is not that much big. So, and the last but not the least option is choose a license. Suppose you have an open source project and you just that's publicly available. Someone clones the project, removes your Git files, and gives and adds a copyright claim, copyright tag to that, and sues you that you copied his project. You won't have anything to say that this is my project. So, in order to avoid those situations, we have a license agreement. Like this project is owned by you, which is publicly available to anyone who can use it and modify it. So that is what license is. I don't even need a license now, so I won't even use it. Let's create a repository. So now my repository is created, and as I told you, the README file is shown on the front. Like what is this? Is the demo repository. This is the description of my repository. This is my repository. I'm add more of the things like with this pencil icon. I may add more of the things like I just want to. This is a repository for the workshop, and I just submit it, commit the changes plus. That's it. This would be added over there. Commit changes means for now. Commit changes means just save. I'll just explain you what exactly commit changes mean just in after next 5 minutes. So this is our repository, and in the repository we have in the top right corner we have three buttons: start and watch fork. We have some menus over here like settings, insights, everything. I'll come to these after 10 to 15 minutes. And what these are files of the project, the files which contain the branches. I'll come to these just after within next 5 to 10 minutes. Just okay, so we have come for now we have learned about the repository. This is our, basically you can say call it as main repository or the remote repository. This is our remote repository or remote copy of the project. Now the second copy was forked copy. So basically forked copy is a copy. Suppose copy someone just checks this someone just visits this repository and copies the link, and he just want to do some changes but don't directly want to commit them to the main repository. He just want to make a copy of that on his account and just want to change something over there itself for his or her own personal uses. So for that what he'll do is he'll open his GitHub account. He'll take the link of repository. I'm just copying it from the URL. This is my another account. He will paste it right over there in the address bar, and then there on the top right corner there is a button for fork. He'll click it. What happens when you fork it? Basically, it creates a copy of that repository or the remote repository you are forking into your own account. So when I'll click it, because sometimes we don't have the direct access to push the changes to the, like suppose I want to fix some bug and I cannot directly push it there. So I'll push it to my own repository. So this is now my forked copy of the repository. It is forked, as you can see, it is forked from the repository which we created 5 minutes ago, and this is our own repository. This is cloned by my other account, and everything is same. Rest everything is same. Okay, so this is for my personal use. And the third one was local copy. Basically, a local copy is the copy which you saves on your desktop, on your computer. So I just want to download this project. I just cannot work. Suppose it has thousands of files and I want to open 4 to 5 files at a time in my IDE. I won't be able to open it through this web interface. I'll need a kind of ID. I need to download this code basically. So in order to download this code or copy this code from GitHub server to our local system, what we'll have to do is we'll have to just we have many options for this. I'm telling you the main most used ones. So the first option is you may click on code and download zip. The whole code source code for the project would be downloaded in your system. But being a programmer, we'll use Git command line interface. So let's fire up our command prompt. This is our command prompt where we have set up our username and user email. It's time to get the copy of this project into our desktop. Okay, so I'll just copy it on my desktop. So let's first of all we'll have to switch to desktop. For that we'll have to use the command cd space the location of your desktop. Now in our desktop in the command prompt, all I have to do is click on code, copy this URL, You may use this button to copy the same. Then enter the command git. Git is just basically a command and after git to use the git is basically a command to use git distributed version control system, and after git we provide the instructions like what we want to do. So I just want to clone the repository. So for the instructing git about that I want a copy of project, I'll use the term clone, git clone, and then paste the URL. Basically git provides an instruction clone which clones the whole project repository into my local system. So it will clone it. It is cloning. It will take time. Okay, so now the project is cloned on my desktop. Let's see whether it is cloned or not. See, we have a project desktop like Elixir Workshop. So when I'll open it, it has our README file, which is Elixir Workshop. This is a demo project. This is all what we have written so far. So this is how we clone a project. We download a project copy. This is called a local copy of project. So as of now, we have what we have learned. We have learned that how can we set up Git using configuration commands, git config and git config global username or email, because we'll have to tell Google GitHub that we want to use this email ID for cloning and other purposes. Okay, so secondly, we have learned about three of the repositories: remote repository, which is what we have created here, and a forked repository, which someone else forks to his or her account, and the local copy, which is on which we just use, which we use the command git clone, and that is cloned to any of the location we want to. I just clone it on my desktop. Okay, so moving forward, basically Git has a three-tier architecture. So what is three-tier architecture? Git and Git is like a very famous distributed version control system. It is, I feel like it is just because of its 3D architecture system. It is a very good architecture of managing the changes we did and just pushing them or what we want to do with those changes. So basically, this is our working directory. Now I told you local copies also, you may call it as a working directory. I'll move to my local copy or working directory. Okay, so dir command is basically used to know what are the files present in my working directory. So I have a readme.md file. Okay, so I just want to make some, like, suppose basically to understand this three-tier architecture, we will have to understand the example of printing first. Suppose you have a file of 1,000 pages. You want to add a page to it by taking a printout from your desktop. Okay, so in order to do that, what would you do is basically you will type something in a document, Word document, or it could be Notepad. You will take a print preview of it. While checking everything in the print preview, you will just print the page. It would be printed through the printer, and then you will add it to a file. This is the whole process. Now let's connect this whole process with the three-tier architecture of Git. Suppose we have a working directory, we have a paper, we have like a word paper, basically a notepad kind of a document. We will type something over there. That is our working directory. We just do the changes basically in a project. We just do the changes to those files. That is our working directory. Okay, so now all the changes we want to do, we wrote there. We wrote in the documentation or in the project we are doing. Okay, we just did all the changes we want to. After this, the next comes the staging area. Basically, suppose now my everything is done, I'll take a print preview, like everything I did is correct or not. So that is where staging area, that is what the job of staging area is. It is just used to confirm that everything we did is like to verify that everything we changed was with our will or it was just added itself. So in order to do that, in order to verify everything before directly changing it to the project, what we do is we use staging area like the print preview, and after the print preview, when the print comes out, we just that means we are committing the changes to the main project. Like the printing the paper, like printing the document on a paper is just like adding a commit to our own repository. Okay, now I'll attach that paper to the remote repository. That is what we call as I'll add the paper to the file, and so in the same way I'll add the changes to the remote repository, and that is what we call as git push. So basically what happens is I'll just demonstrate you all with this practical implementation. So suppose git add, basically let's start with git add command. Okay, so this is my repository, I have just a layout of files. I'll just copy it over there. Suppose these are the two folders I wanted to create. Folder 1 is file 1 and folder 2 is file 2. Okay, I'll just copy these folders and add them to our Elixir workshop folder. Okay, so there now we have two of the changes. Okay, so now we did our work on the project. Suppose this was our project. We added these much files on our project, do two folders, and that's it. We just want to add these to a remote repository. So the process would be simple. Now we will check whether the files we changed are as per our will or not. We wanted them or not. So for that, we'll use the command git status. What it does is it tells us like what are the changes, what are the files we have changed so far. So it says that we have added two folders, folder 1 and folder 2, and they are in the working directory. When it is red, that means when the folder 1 and folder 2 icon are red, that means they are in the working directory. They are not staged. Staged means we are just editing them, we are just currently working on them. We'll still have to go for print preview option in the terms of our example. So this is what staging index is basically, like the print preview section. Yeah, before continuing further, I would like to ask everyone to just open chat section and go to Slido if you have any query. We have a link, we provided a link on Slido section. Geeks to Geeks team will again provide the link if that's gone upward. So you'll have to just visit that and add your doubts if you have any. So okay, let's continue that. So these are the two folders. We are currently now in the working directory. Now next we will have to move them to the staging area. Like I have to verify everything that yes, I did the changes, I did these changes, I just want to add these changes and want to work further. So what we'll use is we'll add git add. This is basically instruction to tell that I want to add these folders to my staging area. Staging area is basically a print preview section kind of thing where we preview everywhere. Like I have verified that folder 1, I have completed everything. I just want to add it. So just I'll add folder 1. Now let's see whether it is added or not. We will use the command git status. So as we can see, the new file folder 1 and file 1 was added successfully in the staging area, but folder 2 is still not there. So basically what git add does is git add adds that folder to the staging area folder, the name of folder which we use. Okay, so it will add the folder 1 and all the sub files under folder 1 to the committed the staging area, sorry. Okay, so now in case I just want all my changes to be added, I will just use the command git add with a dot. What it will do is all the changes I have done so far, it will add them to the like staging area. Now let's see the status. As we can see, we have two files now added, file 1 and file 2 under folder 1 and folder 2. Okay, so this is what we have done till print preview. Now it's time to take out the printout of the document we have done so far. The changes we have to commit them basically. So in order to do that, we'll have to run a command. Okay, let me just so now we'll have to use it. We'll have to add these changes to a repository, the local copy of the project which we have learned in the previous slide. So to do that, we have an instruction called git commit and dash -m and then the message. Like we'll have to tell someone, like for our own convenience, we should have some commit message like I just did these changes into these files, so that in future, in case if I just visit those commits, I just read them, what changes I did in this commit, I have a record of that. So I'll just name it as added folder 1 and folder 2. That's it, and hit enter. Now both the commits are now moved to a repository. So now if we'll see git status, will show us nothing. It will just show that your branch is ahead of origin main by one commit. What this origin and main means, I'll come to it in the next slide. Okay, so our branch is ahead of one commit. That means we have committed one change to our folders, to our work project basically. So now that simply means we are in this area, repository head area. Our changes are made to this repository head area. Okay, it's time to push these changes to the remote repository to my forked copy, because being Manav 014, I have the right to push my changes to manav014 or my forked copy, not the other account, the main account manav0145. So in order to push that, what command is used? Basically, this instruction is git push origin master. Sorry, main. It's not master, it's main. This is the instruction git push origin main. Basically, now let's see what happens to my forked copy. This is the time I have pushed all the changes to my forked copy. Now let's see whether these changes are done or not. As we can see, both the folders are now uploaded to our forked copy. So let's recall what we have done so far. We just do some changes, did some changes on the project. We created two folders, folder 1 and folder 2. Okay, that means we created a document in simple words. We added those folders to the staging area, basically, which means we kind of take a preview of them. We have taken a preview of them. We just want to add them to the commit. We just want to add them to the main repository. Okay. Then we saw the status, how what are we doing so far? Is everything on track? So yes, everything is on track. Then we committed the changes. To commit the changes, we use git commit command with a message. Okay, so the message, it could be anything what the changes we have done, a simple short description of what we have done. Okay, and then we saw the status, there was nothing, and then we pushed the changes. At this moment of time, at the time we committed the changes, all the changes were added to our local repository. Okay, the local copy of the project. And as soon as we did git push origin main, all the changes were pushed to my forked copy, basically. Okay, so this is all about how we can push our changes to a repository directly using command line interface, using these commands. I have a cheat sheet for Git. I'll just share it after the workshop in the resource section itself on our Instagram page. You might get it from even there. Okay, which will have all these commands arranged in a sequence. So moving further, this was all about that 3-tier architecture of Git. Basically, it has two more parts, Git pull and Git checkout. I'll come to them in the next slides. Okay, so basically the next topic comes is Git remotes. Okay, so suppose I have two repositories now. As of now, I have two repositories, basically three copies of the repository. One is the forked one, which is here, which is forked from manav0145 account into manav014 account. Okay, so let's keep it here. And I have one major, this is the main project repository, and a local copy, which is here on desktop, Alex, with the name of Alexa Workshop. Okay, now all I have to do is I have to suppose let's see, just do one thing. Basically, a remote is kind of a it gives us detail remote git remote. This instruction of git allows us to interact with our origin, or I should say the remote repositories, the repositories from where the project is cloned or the project is connected to. Okay, so basically by default, when we clone a repository, it adds a remote named origin to it. So when I'll use the command git remote, it will tell me origin. Origin is basically a source, a URL of the repository from where I have cloned it. I have cloned it from manav014 Alexa Workshop. Okay, so let's see. In order to see the URL of the origin, we have to enter the command git remote, name of the source, which is origin. I want to know the origin of URL. Sorry, we'll have to use show as well. Show origin. What this command will do? This command will give us the URL of the origin. Okay, so now the URL of this origin is this: fetch URL and push URL. Basically, push URL is the push command where we use git push origin master. Sorry, git push origin main. What does this exactly mean? We want to push our changes to our origin branch. Origin was manav014/Alexa workshop. So we want to push our changes to that repository. So basically, this is from where the origin came here. And I'll come to main as well in the next slide. What this main means. Basically, origin means like the repository source where we have from where we have cloned the repository or the repository is directly linked to. We may add multiple remotes to this. Suppose I just want to add this URL as well. Sometimes I have to push the changes I did here to this repository and pull them from this repository as well. In order to do that, I may add this repository also as a remote. For that, I'll have to copy the URL of this repository. Then all I have to do is git remote is because we are interacting with remote things, and add and the name by which we want to like kind of acronym for this repository. I'll use it as upstream. Okay, you may use any of the name. Instead of upstream, you may use any of the name, like your own name itself. I'll use upstream because that's a common naming convention. But you may use any of the name you want. And when I'll hit git remote add origin. Sorry, I just forgot about the URL. Yeah. So I added this URL would now be linked to upstream. Now let's see how many remotes we have. In order to see that, we'll simply enter git remote. And as we can see earlier, it was displaying origin. Now it is showing origin and upstream, which means our upstream is added successfully. Now let's see what it shows when we just do git remote show upstream. Yeah, so now as we can see, it has the account of it has a URL of manav0145 repository, which is linked here. Okay, so that means we have linked this local copy of the project successfully to both the repositories, the forked one and the remote one. Okay, I feel like till now everything is clear. So this is what exactly git remotes means. Like, why do we use origin on the push command? This origin is basically defines like we want to push our code to this URL, this repository. Which repository? The origin one. The origin one is this one. And okay, so now let's move further. Now the next thing comes is git logging. But before git logging, let me explain to you what exactly that main means. So basically Git works on branching system. I guess we have a slide for branching as well. No. Okay. So Git basically has branching system. In the branching system, basically what does that mean? Suppose I want to do some work in my own, like I just want to create a copy of project. I am working on my local copy of the project Elixir workshop. I just want to do some changes. I just want to create a file 3, but not here. Suppose I just want, let's open our repository. I just want to create a file 3 name, a file 3 named file here, but I just don't want to directly change my working directory because it may lead to some malfunction of the program. So that is where branching comes into picture. I'll add a branch by the name of feature. Suppose I just want to add a new feature even as well. We may use branch even for that. So what would I do? Branch is basically, you can understand it like a copy of a project. It is not exactly a copy of project, but you may consider it being a copy of project. Okay. So for that, what I'll do is git branch and the name of branch I want to create. I just want to create one branch for name it as file 3 feature. Okay, so in order to see how many branches my project have or the copies of project I have, like the features, different features, different areas of work I I'll have to use the command git branch. Like git remote, which showed all the remotes. The same way git branch shows all the branches. Now this is the branch we recently created, and this is the branch. The main is just a branch which is by default provided by GitHub. Earlier it used to be master. Now in the last month, I don't remember exactly when, GitHub changed its branch name from master to main, default branch name. So this is the branch which is default provided by GitHub, and this is the one we created. So these are two branches. Branches doesn't mean, it means it's like a copy of a code. Okay, so now we will switch to this star in this green color represents that we are currently working on the main branch, main copy of the project. I just don't want to work with the main copy of the project. I want to work with the file 3 feature of the project. So what will I do is I'll use the command git check out, and then the file name, branch name, sorry, file3 underscore feature. Now we are switched to branch file3 underscore feature. Let's check out whether we switched or not. As we can see, we are in the file3 underscore feature branch. Okay, so this is about branching. Now if I'll add a file3 here, suppose I now let's make some changes over there in the project. I'll add a file3, new test document, file3. Sorry. Okay, so now let's commit the changes. As now I have verified the file change done. Now what we'll do is we'll use git add file3. Okay, now that file is staged. Let's see git status. Yeah, the file3 is added to a staging index. So now let's moving further. I'll have to commit it. Git commit -m added file3. Okay, now the file is committed to this branch, file3 feature. It won't change anything in main branch. So now our main code is preserved. Everything would be there, state like it won't be changed. Okay, so now if I switch to branch, main branch, we use checkout command for that, checkout instruction, git checkout main, and we will see that file3 goes like it just hides itself, it just get deleted. So this is what basically branching does. The concept branching is it record our changes to two of the branches. It like in two of the copies basically you can call it as. In the backend there's no copy. There's only single copy. But GitHub manages it in such a way that it feels like a copy. So when I'll just now let's check what is our branch. It is main and file3 feature. Now when I'll switch to it, file3 underscore feature. And we will see that file3 is back. So this is how Git works, the branching works. So we just wanted, at the time of push, we just wanted that our main branch should be pushed to Git. So that is why we use Git push. Origin was the resource where I want to push it, and main was the branch I want to push. I want to push this branch of my code. So that is what we did. We may even, just a moment. Yeah. So we may even push this branch as well. So git push origin, and we may use file3 underscore feature. This will push file3 feature branch over there. Let's see whether it is pushed or not. And previously I told you this is the branch section. This is where the branch section comes. Suppose it will have it will have two branches, file3 feature and main branch. And as we can see, it is also sharing that we may create a pull request. What exactly is this pull request? This is just the last part of workshop. So now the next topic comes is git logging. Okay. So as of now, we have learned about commit. Let's recall what we have learned so far. We have learned about remotes. What are remotes? They are like there could be any number of remotes. The remotes are the repository URLs, are cloned working copies connected to three-tier of architecture of Git, which we understood with the example of printing a page and adding it to a document. We take a print preview and all the steps. Basically, we have a working directory, staging area, and repository itself, and a remote repository. Okay, and we also read about the repositories copy we have, the main project repository, a forked copy, and a local working copy. So this is what we have learned so far. Now the next topic is git log. As we have a Q&A session also, I won't take much time. This is the last slide. So last topic. So basically, git log, what it does is there is an instruction in Git called log. It tells us about the previous commits we have done so far in the repository. As we can see, it shows us that we have committed, we have initial commit. Initial commit means the commit we did in this very beginning. We updated readme.md, and after that we added two folders. These are the commit messages which we wrote. I told you now we should write some good commit messages. This is the reason. When we will see git log, we'll see that all those commit messages would be displayed, and it would be easier for us to figure out when and what are the changes we did in each commit. So that is why commit message should be really great, self-explanatory, and it should be brief. Okay. So basically, like git log, there is also another command instruction along with log, like git log -2. If I want to see the last two commits, just the last two commits I did in the project, I'll hit enter. Sorry, git log dash 2. Yeah. So these are the last two commits I did. This is the time and date of the commit done by author, and same with the second commit. Okay. Now moving further, suppose I just want to know, or I just want to get all the commits of the author Manav014. For that, we use the command git log. You'll get all these command lists on our Instagram page. We'll share it by the end of the day, and the workshop recording as well. So no need to worry. Equals to Manav014. And as we can see, all the commits related to, as I have committed so far only from my account only. So this will show us all the commits done by Manav014. Okay, so just it's showing Manav015 as well. Just a moment. Yes. So actually Manav01, what it does is it Manav014, it uses a star like kind of all the names similar to Manav014. If I use Manav0145, it will display me Manav0145 itself. So this is what how Git works, Git logging works. To learn more about Git logs and all the commands, I have a good resource to share. Like you can say the Bible of Git. You'll get everything over here in the Git official documentation. Everything related to Git basics, Git commands. Every command has its own page over here. Suppose I'll just search Git log, Git documentation. So we can see the git log command documentation. It has all the options of what happens, how it happens, like what are the instructions we may use with this. So these all the this is the place where you can get everything about Git. I know it's a bit hectic to learn documentation, to read documentation, but when you read it now, you become a pro in this Git. So as there's less time, so that's it for the session. I would like to now move on to the query part, your questions. So Stuti, will you please share your screen for the participant questions?
Sure, sir.
Okay. So starting from the very bottom, let's start from the bottom. Okay. How important is GitHub in terms of placement? Okay. So talking about placement, GitHub, basically not GitHub, let's make it open source. For the placement point of view, open source is damn like you have two fields. You have to choose one. There is a component programming or open source, or you may choose both of them. There's nothing like you have to choose only one. So basically, Git open source opens a lot of opportunities for you, like the opportunity of outreachy, Google Summer of Code, etc. You may like explore these things as well. Like GitHub gives you the opportunity to work on the live projects, the live project which you currently use, like VLC Media Player is open source project. You may directly contribute to your code to it. Firefox. So in terms of placement, when someone in your resume it is written like you are a Google Summer of Code intern, like it's not basically internship. You are Google Summer of Code student. Okay. So or outreachy intern somewhere, Mozilla conducts outreach intern. It allow you to make you explore beyond these placements and stuff. It is like you will explore the real world of coding. Like we have one more program, Linux kernel mentorship in open source. So you may explore that as well. It helps a lot in placement. It'll add like a stars to your resume. So that's it for the question. Just feature of both local and centralized version. Yeah, but it depends on your need. Like a few months ago, one of my friends from Google told me that they use on their own centralized version control system. So it is not like distributed is the best version control system. But yes, for our needs, for general need, for it depends on the need of project, which version control system is good. Like Google uses these days centralized version control system in some of its projects, not all the projects. Okay, so that is totally dependent on our need. And yes, you can say, but there are benefits of centralized version control system itself as well. So it depends on your project and your needs and contributors. Open source has many famous projects are hard for beginner. Okay, this is the most common question and a very good question. Like how to start contributing to open source, as like many famous projects are hard for a beginner, and how to understand what is the issue causing the error. So see, first of all, don't directly jump to the big projects. Let me tell you the roadmap of how to start with open source the way I did. Okay, this is not a fixed one. You may use any which suits you the most. I choose this one. Like have a good hands-on with any one of the programming language or a technology. Okay, look for its beginner level projects to contribute to have a good idea of Git and GitHub. Do some contributions over there. We have many programs for them for these to get these projects. Like we have Kharagpur Winter of Code. Now we'll have ABS Winter of Code in the month of March or April. And these kind of programs, take part in these programs. You'll learn about more about beginner level projects. I have in my resources there links some for some beginner level projects depending on person to person. So you may refer them as well, but before looking for projects, I'll recommend you just go for a language, go for a technology to learn, to have your like skilled in. Then after getting skilled in that language or technology, you may continue with these things like contributing the beginner level project. Then after contributing the beginner level project, move to the advanced one. Okay, now the second question is what is the issue causing in the error? How will you understand? So in order to do that, suppose you have a big project, it has thousands of modules. So you don't have to read the whole code base of the project in order to understand the things. Just read the documentation of the project. Every project has its own documentation. Okay, so read those documentation. You will find that every project has a documentation for classes and stuff. So if you will look through a documentation, you will easily find that what is causing the issue. Yeah, it takes time to read documentation, but you will have to read it. That is like a solution for all the issues. It's in the documentation itself. If you will read it, you will find that where's the problem, and you may contact even the repository mentors for the same. Suggest some name of project where we can start for absolute beginners. Yeah, the list of projects where you can start and for absolute beginners, and even the famous projects for beginners would be shared by the end of the day on our Instagram page. You may follow us on Instagram. It would be shared by the end of the day. The list of all the beginner level projects which you may use. Can you explain dot get ignore again? Okay, so basically, dot get ignore is like a file which tells which tells every time we commit the changes, we move the changes to staging area. It tells us, or it even denies the files we have written. Suppose in dot git ignore, I wrote the name of file like dot vs code. So any file with the name dot vs code won't be added to a staging area, as that by default I have asked Git to ignore the file. Basically, it contains the list of files which are to be ignored, which are not to be pushed on the main repository. Like suppose there are some temporary files generated, I just don't want them to push them, so it avoids them, it ignores them basically. Which is more important, Git or DSA? It depends person to person. The thing which important is your interest. If you are interested towards Git, just have a basic idea of DSA. And if you're interested towards DSA, just have a basic idea of not Git. It's about version control system and everything, how everything happens behind the scene. So that's totally upon interest, what you want to do, what you want to explore. If you are interested in working real life projects and you are not interested in internships and all, you just want to learn with new live projects which your friends use. Like contributing to open source feels like the framework or the software my friends use. I am the coder of that framework. I am coder in that framework. So that gives a different kind of a zeal. That is what open source is all about, and it's all about your interest, whether to go with Git or TSA. I didn't found what should I do. Okay, so just go for computer programming. There are a lot of fields: IoT, you have cloud computing, you have a lot of fields to explore: hacking, cybersecurity. Explore those fields. Explore computer programming, cybersecurity. Just avoid them. Open source, yeah, that's simple. If someone doesn't find open source interesting, that's your own decision. Your own choice. So yeah, you have other fields to explore. Best tutorial for GitHub or open source on YouTube. Okay, I will share this on Instagram page handle itself, the resource section. source and or to start with in terms of some blogs or videos or to refer in the future, yeah, we'll definitely share them by the end of the day on our Instagram handle. You may follow us there. What if we want to undo a commit? To undo a commit, actually I cannot, that's not tell you all the commands in this. Basically there is a command called git restore. You may read about this on git documentation. Basically you may use that command to get revert the command. Sorry, get revert command. Sorry, get revert was the command. Get revert, you may use that command to revert a commit. So learn you like you may read more about that on GitHub documentation. That's like, because the time is limited, I cannot explain all the commands right here. You may contact me even on GitHub, so I'm help even there. Can you tell once again git command what it is doing in layman? Is git telling the GitHub that git that are you talking about git config command or git commit command? Because see, git, in order to tell GitHub that this account is doing the changes in a repository, basically a repository. So we use git config command for that. But in order to add the changes to our main repository, we use git commit. So the question is a bit unclear. You may add it again. You may send the question again. Okay, what is git remote doing? Git remote is basically an instruction for Git to when we want to work with remote connections of the current repository. Like remote is basically, git remote will basically print all the remotes you have connect, all the repositories urls you have connected to use through this project. Okay, so that's it for the questions. Anyone has any other doubts? And if anyone wants to unmute himself or herself, they may raise their hand. I'll give them the right. If they have any doubt left. Okay guys, I think we can conclude this. Priti.
Good evening, everyone. This is Ritzi Merotra from ECE section, second year. So I think the entire section must have been insightful for you all. We expect that there will be a link shared for the feedback form in the chat section. We request you to please fill the feedback form to know the criteria for attending the today's workshop and also for getting certified for the same. When you will fill the feedback form, there will be a message where you will get to know about the criteria of getting the certificate of attending the today's workshop. As Manav sir said that all the resources of the today's workshop will be shared on our official Instagram handle. So if you want to know anything about it or you want to contact us for any further details about the workshop, then please contact us on our official Instagram page. I'm also sharing you the link of the same.
So this is all for the session. Thank you all for joining with us.
Thank you, Manav sir. Thank you, Khushi ma'am, and thank you everyone for joining us. Also, you may follow our Instagram page for the recorded version of this workshop and also for all the resources and links used in this workshop. Link is provided by Ricky in chat box. Thank you everyone for being a patient audience.